I feel like I have to burp.
Burp it out, burp it out,
It's
burp
not
it out.
coming, so it'll come right as I get into the good part of the story, I'm sure. It'll be like a dragon.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like me.
All right, let's do this.
All right. Welcome. Thanks for coming back. This is the Creatures of the Night Paranormal Podcast, and I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy. Sorry, I don't have a fun intro like yours the last time.
And that's it. Suck it up. That's all you get.
What the fuck do you want from me?
What do you want?
So, what you been doing?
Watching TV. Oh my God. Have you seen Skinwalker Ranch?
No, that's so funny that you asked me that because I was looking into that, but I haven't started anything. Very, very interested in that. You started it?
Yeah, it's good. It's called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch,
Right.
and it's on the History Channel, which is like my number one channel in this house because Ancient Aliens, The Curse of Oak Island, Forged in Fire, and now The Skinwalker Ranch. It's hard for me to get in any other shows, you see. But yeah, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, it's good. It's like one of those series that have finally come out that has reinvigorated my desire to like, okay, it's Tuesday night at 9:00. I need to be watching this show, like one of those kind of moments.
That's what I need. That's what I'm looking for. Like, I just don't want to watch just blob. I need something that I just cannot wait to watch. Actually, I don't need that because then this podcast won't happen. But
It is a good one. The funny thing is because it's on History, and I just named 3 shows that I watched: Curse of Oak Island, Ancient Aliens, and now The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. All 3 of them have the same fucking narrator. So it feels like you're coming home when you're watching The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch because it's the same guy once again narrating. My son came downstairs and he thought I was watching Curse of Oak Island. I'm like, nope. I don't know. Maybe this guy has the monopoly on voice narrations.
he's just that damn good at it. It's like Mike Rowe, I think is his name or whatever.
Yeah.
He narrates a ton of shit.
He does have a beautiful voice, though.
Hmm.
Yes, hard jobs, or what is it?
Dirty
Ugly
jobs.
Dirty. I said ugly jobs.
It's all the same.
He's got a beautiful voice, actually. He's doing a commercial now. They're doing like Skype COVID-19 something. And as soon as he starts talking, like I'm like looking at the TV because I just love that man's voice. Like, what are we? Oh, it's just a commercial. Damn it.
It's kind of a silly commercial, though. Do you really need to promote any kind of Skype or Zoom at this point? I mean, people get it. Like, if
Yeah.
they need to speak to other people, they're going to figure it out. I don't really
No.
Maybe it's just to keep encouraging people to do that and don't give in to the temptation of, getting out there face to face. That must be what it is. That just dawned on me.
Yeah, maybe. And like you said, you don't really need that as a reminder. But damn, there's another commercial that came on and it was Frito-Lay. And they're just, talking about how, things are going to get back to being normal sooner or later. And then all of a sudden I was like, damn, I need some chips. So their marketing worked.
That's funny. So yeah, I mean, that's my day. It's just kind of getting through it. And I haven't really spent a whole lot of time in front of the TV, but I do spend like part of my day is just consumed by catching myself up on what's the news on the virus. Because, I mean, like so many people, it affects the work that I do. And then it affects our personal lives, plans that we have. And just what can we do this weekend? Can we get out of the house at all? But
Yeah.
it's very much related to what I do work-wise as well. So I have to get that daily dose, which is kind of strange for me because, before I did not pay much attention to what was going on in the outside world. And now I actually know things like my governor's name. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was a male or a female or a fucking squirrel before now. And now his name's everywhere. So I know who that motherfucker is. It's odd to me. It's like more adulting than I really want to be involved in.
Wait, you didn't know your governor was a fucking squirrel?
That I would be so embarrassed if he was a squirrel or she was a squirrel and I didn't know that because I'm a big fan of squirrels, but no, it's just a dude.
That's pretty interesting. The governor's name around these parts is thrown around so often. I would be shocked if I didn't know it. I mean, honestly, I know his name. I think it would be more likely for me to be like, oh, he's a governor? Dude, I thought, he's a TV personality because I hear his name so friggin' much.
No, I had no idea. I didn't know that our mayor was a female. Thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I never knew these things until now, and it's kind of sad. But something I found out this week, or been hearing a lot of people talk about, and this is not me trying to play like a news reporter here, because you should never trust anything I'm telling you. I get most of my information from other silly podcasts and memes. So not exactly reliable sources at all.
I love memes.
Right? But they tell you so many things. You're just like, what? Is that going on? I got to look into that. It spikes interest is what it is how it works for me. So word on the street is that even though the COVID-19 numbers might start declining soon, especially I guess here in Arizona because the temperature, I don't know, hell just opened up. And it's fucking summer now already. But come this fall, apparently, it could hit all again. A lot of people are comparing this current situation to the 1918 influenza pandemic, better known as the Spanish flu, which I did not know a whole lot about. I mean, I heard that situation that happened, that event, but other than it just being really bad, I didn't know any like extreme details. So I looked into it and I wanted to share with you what I found.
Before you do, I just want to say that I had that conversation with my husband not too long ago, because you're going to be able to go into cemeteries and graveyards and see 2020 and realize all of these people, 2020, what they passed away from. It's very similar to those other types of things like yellow fever victims, you know, that happened at a mass time, and you can go into the graveyards and you see that date and you know. So it's...
Yeah, exactly. Sucks. Kind of strange to happen into our time, which we think is so advanced.
Right.
You get that reminder that you are so small compared to these unknown things out there that can still pop up on you.
Scary.
So the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 was the deadliest pandemic of the 20th century. It affected an estimated 5 million people worldwide, about 1/3 of the planet's population, and killed an estimated 20 to 50 million people. Those exact numbers are like impossible to know because not everybody was just really great at record keeping in 1918 or even now.
Right, exactly.
So there are some people that believe that number is actually as high as 100 million deaths.
God. It hits a little closer to home now when you're actually going through a pandemic. Whereas before, had you mentioned those numbers to me, you still would have felt like, that's cool. That was in the past.
Right? Yeah, that's not going to happen. And we've been through other kinds of, infectious, contagious, little like, what's that? That's scary. That didn't come to this level. So when you read about this, you're like, please don't tell me this is what you're comparing it to.
Right.
So the first wave of the 1918 pandemic occurred in the spring and was generally mild. The sick experienced typical flu symptoms and usually recovered several days afterwards. And the numbers of reported deaths was pretty low. However, a second highly contagious wave of influenza appeared with a vengeance in the fall of that same year.
Right.
So that's what they're thinking is going to happen here.
So go ahead and restock up on toilet paper when it comes available again. Gotcha.
Do it now. No, man, y'all be reasonable. We are in different times. So don't go buy all the fucking toilet paper. I'm sure you'll be able to go out there and get it on a regular basis. You are now, if people wouldn't have just gone out there and bought 20 fucking packs at one time.
Yeah, right.
Where do you even store that in your house?
Not in my house. Have you seen it? There's nowhere to store 20 packs of toilet paper.
Chris is lying. She has a wall of toilet paper behind her right now.
This is true. No, I do have to tell you, though, when we didn't have any toilet paper and we went to go and buy some more and the store didn't have any, they did have like the wet wipes. So we've officially tried those out.
But that's kind of refreshing and nice.
It's something that my husband has always wanted to move towards because he thinks that they're cleaner. So he's gotten a whiff of that and now he won't release it. So we're on to wet wipes. So if you come into this house, that's what you're getting.
I think I like it. That feels like very luxurious.
You know, but that's so funny because there was no toilet paper on the shelves, but there was tons of wet wipes. So it's like, did you guys forget that there's options? There's options. We had to move on with the options.
So back when it hit in that fall, that 1918 pandemic, victims died like within hours and days. So they just weren't recovering like they did in the spring. It's unknown exactly where the particular strain of influenza that caused the pandemic came from. Despite popular belief, it was not Spain.
Right.
Spain was the first to cover the news of the outbreak in late May of 1918. During World War I, Spain was a neutral country, so it had a free media. Meanwhile, Allied countries and Central Powers had wartime censors that covered up the news of the flu to keep morale high for the soldiers and stuff. In the United States, the first known case was reported at Camp Funston in Fort Riley, Kansas on March 11th, 1918.
Wow.
Months before Spain was like, hey, something's going on here.
Yeah, right.
So in Kansas, just before breakfast on the morning of March 4th, Private Albert Gitchell of the U.S. Army reported to the hospital complaining of cold-like symptoms, a sore throat, a fever, a headache. By noon, over 100 of his fellow soldiers had reported similar symptoms to the hospital.
Wow. That's fast.
Yeah. Later, similar outbreaks in army camps and prisons in various regions of this country were reported. The disease soon traveled to Europe with the American soldiers heading to aid the Allies on the battlefields of France. Thinking it was just a bad cold, they simply just shipped these fucking guys off. So in March, they had sent 84,000 American soldiers, and then the next month, they said 118,000. The flu took a heavy toll, wiping out entire families and leaving countless widows and orphans in its wake. Funeral parlors were overwhelmed, and bodies were piling up. Many people had to dig their own family members' graves.
Yeah, well, that's very similar to what's happening right now.
No, that is not really happening now. Oh, you mean in
right. Not
Sorry. I'm like, what? No, I was going to say we're in much better shape, but you're right. I guess in other places, yes, this would be a thing.
I think it was Indonesia where I saw that. So, yeah, definitely not here, but damn, why didn't those poor guys just inject themselves with disinfectant before they went over there?
Stop it. Duh, that's how you fix it.
Duh.
So says our leader. Fuck that motherfucker.
No shit. That was the most, I could not believe what I just heard on the fucking TV. And I'm like, that was my president.
Really?
That's my fucking president. What the fuck did he just say?
I don't think I'm really shocked by much that he says.
That one took me for a loop. I was stunned. I didn't think I could be shocked.
He's outdone himself this time.
Yeah, definitely.
So the flu also, of course, devastated the economy. In the United States, businesses were forced to shut, not because necessarily the government told them to, though some states did go to a kind of lockdown situation. But a lot of businesses just had to close because employees were sick. Basic services like mail delivery and garbage collection, all these workers were sick with the flu, dying. So these services weren't happening. Some of the farms didn't have enough workers to harvest crops, so there was a food shortage. And some state and local health departments closed for business, hampering the effects to chronicle the spread and provide the public with information about it, how to prevent it or what's going on or anything like that. Like how we can just hop on social media and see the updates. They can't even get the information because those people are too sick to even go to work and tell them.
Wow.
Or get the news out there, I should say.
Yeah.
So by December of that same year, the American Medical Association acknowledged the end of this contagious conflict, and that was kind of it from it. It took them years, though, to study what happened. What was this virus? Why did it affect some so badly and not others? But now, today, a lot more is known about the H1N1 virus, and it's just become a part of history. Like we said, to us, this is just a thing of the past.
Yeah, something you read about in textbooks.
Right. It's not anything that we would expect to become an issue for us today.
Yeah, and yet here we are.
Here we are. And the ghost from these tragic times, 1918, I mean, not these tragic times like now, but they seem to have not moved on.
Wow.
As Fort Riley, Kansas is reported to be extremely haunted.
Oh, and it's in Kansas. Yes, that's where Dorothy's from. So awesome.
All kinds of crazy things happen there.
Exactly. Yes, tornadoes and everything. This is a good one.
Now, Fort Riley has a long history, and the Spanish flu wasn't its first epidemic either. So it's really no surprise that it's full of haunted tales. Fort Riley's history stretches back over 150 years, as the nation began to focus its attention on overland trails such as the Oregon and Santa Fe. Selection for the fort's site occurred in the fall of 1852. The following spring, soldiers began to garrison the post. Many of the buildings at the fort were built with the native limestone. There's that magical stone out there, harnessing all that energy.
Good and bad.
Yeah. It was native to the area, and several of these buildings still stand today. By 1855, the post was well established, and as more and more people moved westward, additional quarters, stables, administration buildings were authorized to be built. In July, 56 mule teams arrived at the fort, loaded with materials and soldiers to expand the fort, right? However, just a few short weeks later, cholera broke out among the fort, and though the epidemic only lasted a few days, only a few days, it killed 75 to 125 people.
Wow.
So after the Civil War, the 7th Cavalry organized here under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer.
Nice.
Though that didn't last long. In 1867, when Custer was stationed at the fort, but he was off on a military campaign, he got news that a cholera again had broken out at the fort. His beloved wife, Libby, was there. So fearing for her safety, he rode back to the fort, leaving his men out there by themselves. And he got to the fort. She was fine and in good health, but he got in trouble and he was court-martialed and he had to leave for like a full year. They kind of kicked him out and then let him back in.
Oh, okay. They're like, yeah, no, you got to do your time, but we need you back.
That was really shitty what you did, but actually we kind of like you. He knew a lot of bigwigs.
Mm-hmm. A little slap on the wrist there.
Yeah. Oh, you silly Custard. It's okay.
Just don't do it again, okay? You promise? Okay, good. Come on out.
Good. On January 1st, 1893, Fort Riley became the site of the Cavalry and Light Artillery School. I don't know what light artillery means. Just not too heavy, just a little on the side, please. That type thing. I don't really know.
Like mayonnaise?
Yeah. The fort became a functioning educational school for these two divisions of the military, and that continued until 1943 when the cavalry was disbanded. Fort Riley also served as a training center during all the major conflicts of the 20th century, and up until this day, the post has remained active. It's an active military base.
Wow, that's cool.
The military reservation now covers more than 100,000 acres and has a daytime population of nearly 25,000, which includes the 1st Infantry Division, nicknamed the Big Red One. They are super proud of that.
That's cute.
I don't really know why, but they're supposed to be really cool.
They chew a lot of Big Red there.
Yeah. I was like, why do they call them that? And seriously, it's just because of the patch that they wear, I think. That's all
they got
I
a
could
sweet
find
patch.
Out. It's just a big red one. I mean, so it seems pretty simple to me, but...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Today, a portion of the grounds are open to the public. Several of the historic buildings now house museums that display the fort's history as well as examples of its early life. There's lots of monuments and statues throughout because you could do like a little walking tour and check them all out. But my most favorite one that I read about is they have a horse statue that was created in honor of the horses and mules that perished during the Civil War.
Wow, that's awesome.
I thought that was pretty cool. How many people do that?
Yeah.
Now, of course, to us, the coolest thing about this fort is the reported ghost sightings. The first one was in the late 1960s.
Wow.
A public works employee, while repairing a down electrical line during a snowstorm, noticed a soldier in a heavy wool overcoat and a rifle over his shoulder, pacing back and forth near the site of the old World War I gymnasium, which a lot of people suspect was probably used during one of those cholera outbreaks or the flu epidemic to put extra cots and stuff when the hospital was overloaded. After repairing the line, this public works employee, he decided that he was just going to walk over to the ghostly figure and offer to share some of his hot coffee. However, as he approached, the soldier vanished. He's like, bitch, I don't want that. Back up.
I don't need your coffee. Poof. I love that the first sighting was just some guy who was there to repair something. And he's just doing his job. He's not like in the military or anything, but this is an active base. So there are plenty of military people around. They're just not seeing this other guy, the soldier, right?
Right.
The repairman is just like, oh, that guy looks cold and he's up late. Let me just go and give him some coffee. He gets close and the soldier's like, I don't drink decaf. I don't know.
Decaf is a waste of space. So I don't blame him at all.
Look, I am addicted to coffee. I drink it all the time, but it also hinders me from sleeping. So I switched to decaf in the afternoon so that I can still have that yummy, delicious coffee taste, which is actually putrid and disgusting because I drink it black, but I need it. So I switched to decaf in the afternoons so that I don't stay up all night anymore.
Don't you ever try to give that shit to me.
Sure.
She's like, she won't shut up talking. So I'm going to sneak this. She'll think it's the real deal. She'll never know. I probably wouldn't.
We'll be in an investigation. I'll be like, here, Wendy, here's some coffee for the night. You'll be drinking it up. You'll be like, I don't know why I'm so tired. I had all that coffee. I'll be like,
I wonder that now, and I drink too much caffeine. Anyways, this guy walks up to try to offer this guy a drink. He vanishes, and then as he looks around, like, where'd he go? He realizes there's no footprints in the snow. And so that's what's like, mind blown. What just happened here? And he starts telling the story to everybody. So after that, numerous reports began to be reported of paranormal activity all over Post.
But nobody thought to just inspect what this guy was really drinking either.
And that wasn't that coffee, sir.
Just saying.
So one of the most popular locations is the old officer quarters. It's known as the Custer House, even though that's not where he lived. He actually lived in quarters 21. Those have been since torn down, then rebuilt for another purpose. But the Custer House is in the same style of home as that period when Custer would have been there.
Okay.
The house is almost as old as the fort itself. So I think it's like the oldest building on Post.
Okay.
It's said that it's haunted by a man and a child. One of the first stories regarding a possible haunting came from former residents because the Custard House was used for a home for base housing up until the 1970s. A former resident had reported seeing a man walking down the stairs in a uniform fitting that kind of frontier period.
Wow.
Another story comes from a former resident whose daughter used to babysit for the family next door to the Custard House. She often reported hearing sounds of heavy footsteps, like someone wearing boots, though no one was supposed to be home next door.
Wow. Yeah, cool.
That's actually a common report, not only in the Custard House, but in many houses on Post.
They can make themselves heavy enough to stomp around on the floor, but not often can they actually appear. But he did that one time. It must take a lot of energy for them to stomp around. And they need to because, I don't know, they're pissy. But they don't necessarily want to appear or are not able to get enough energy to appear all the time.
Maybe they don't even realize they're making as much noise as they're making. Kind of like when you go to open a bag of chips and you don't realize how loud it is until like everybody's being quiet and you're like, shit, sorry. But like when you're purposely trying to ready yourself to appear to people, you know, you got to get your makeup and everything together. Does your uniform look good and stuff? That's a lot of work. I can sympathize with that scenario.
That is interesting about spirits. And I like your analogy a lot. Like it's just getting ready, getting all fixed up. And then they're like, okay, here you know, you can see me. I took the time and now I'm ready. I'm beautiful today. But most of the time they're just like, nope, stomp, 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 I guess.
And then you're like, what's that sound? They're like, oh shit, they can hear
me. Shit. Right. Damn, I thought I was being quiet on these creaky-ass old floors.
One guy said that it sounded like he was putting on his boots and then how you stomp down on the ground to make sure your foot's good and in there. You know, like a pair of mud boots or something.
And then he was like, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. Just throwing a bit on my shoe, man. So, actually, the creepiest report from the Custer house, remember I said there's a child spirit as well. And the reason they suspect that is because in the upstairs bedroom, which is decorated with like toys, it has a teddy bear in there. And this teddy bear has been witnessed moving locations, not physically watching it move necessarily. But employees, like this one sergeant, he reported that when he left, he would move the teddy bear onto the bed. I don't know. I guess he thought if there was any little ghost child that they would need to go to sleep at the end of the day. So he'd put the teddy bear on the bed and then he'd come back the next day and the teddy bear would be moved. And most of the time it would be on a rocking chair that's also in the room. Some people have even said that they have seen tears develop in this bear's eyes.
Oh, just like my puppy dog when I leave her alone all day long.
Oh, I didn't actually find like someone's name to be like Trina Johnson said that she saw this happen, but I thought that was fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah.
That would be weird to witness. But then again, I had trouble finding a lot of other people reporting that. It was just in this like one spot.
That is a demon bear. That is not like, if it's got tears welling up in its eyes, you need to find a way to get it exercised.
Yeah, it's cute if it wants to ride on the rocking horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different when it's crying. What's it crying about? Who's in there?
Right.
That's problematic.
I've seen The Conjuring. They need to do something about that bear.
Yes. Put that on your to-do list, please.
Now.
Another soldier who worked at the Custer house reported that she would often arrive in the morning to find the bed upstairs appear to have been slept in. This same soldier also reported that she often felt like she was being watched in the museum. So she didn't necessarily have a real comfortable feeling in there, though most people do not, despite the conjuring demon teddy bear, most people don't think that it's necessarily a negative spirit there.
Interesting.
Now, even the house next door to the Custard house is allegedly haunted, this one by a female spirit who likes to lock people in the bathroom. What?
God damn it. Always in the bathroom. Maybe she's just like, no, you should stay in here. Just, relax and let things come naturally. Don't rush it.
Yeah, because that's how you get hernias. I think.
Ew.
No,
Yeah,
hemorrhoids. That's what I'm trying to say. Different thing, but still, both not good. Take your time in there, guys.
It seems more like a friendly ghost than anything else.
Yeah, it's like a motherly figure, I bet. Yeah.
Yes. Slow down. Do your business. We'll still be here. It's weird that she locks everybody in the bathroom.
I didn't say everybody, but she's done it a few times to where they're like, that's her thing. It's kind of weird.
You know what? I think when I'm a ghost, it's going to be my thing, too. That's just funny. I think I'm starting to get it. This is why they're always in the bathroom. They're like, this is where it fucks with them the most. Here we go.
So now this might be the most popular location that's haunting. It is by no means the only location. Here is a quick rundown of some of Fort Riley's paranormal hotspots. The Infantry Parade Field. Long ago, this field was used as a polo field. I didn't know they were big on polo in Kansas, but whatever. Today, witnesses say that two polo playing gentlemen continue to be seen riding their horses and playing polo.
Oh, that's cool.
That is kind of cool. Apparently, these two men are not polite when you interrupt their game, though.
And they're assholes.
One soldier who had a personal experience was walking across the field one evening when he began to hear faint sounds of shouting and cheering. He then saw what looked like two figures playing polo. As he stopped to watch, the ball came near him, and the two riders began to gallop towards him.
Oh, no.
When they neared, the soldier saw that one of the riders had no face. Instead, there was nothing but a grinning skull. He obviously was shocked. He froze in his spot. And then all of a sudden, he kind of woke from that when one of the apparitions yelled at him and said, "Leave now while you still can." Panicked, he got the fuck out of there. And he never walked that way home again.
Really? I figured he'd be like, no, play through. It's good. Yeah, you see a skull riding a horse coming right towards you. Then some other dude he spouts some very ancient, like cryptic horror movie type stuff. He's not like dude, you're on our field.
Like, get out of the way. No, he's
Right.
like, while you still
Leave now.
can? What is that supposed to mean? Like, he's about to take him down to the underworld.
Yeah. He's like, if you don't get the fuck out of our grass, you're going to hell with us, dude. That's creepy. That is really creepy.
Really creepy. So there are actually multiple locations around posts where cavalry soldiers are seen. Not all of them playing polo by any means. They're just riding around. And just as quickly as they appear, they kind of disappear.
Huh.
Then there's the hospital. In the biomedical room, the fire alarm sounds frequently. On one such occasion, after the alarm had gone off 8 times, the fire marshal came and disconnected the alarm. The alarm sounded 3 times after that, with it being disconnected.
How does that happen? That happens all the time in haunted locations. How does it happen? I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's an electrical. It's not connected. It shouldn't happen. And yet
it does. So it's paranormal, right?
That's way, way, way bonkers. So the fire marshal gets there and he's like, look, just stop calling me. Because I can't do anything. I already did what I needed to do. You're out of luck.
And then the building burns down one day.
Oh, no.
Damn it.
Oh.
So ghostly nurses have also been seen, but this is at the headquarters main post, which was used for a hospital, I think, at some point in time.
Wow.
Also at the post cemetery, there's a legendary story that in the summer of 1855, a woman named Cornelia Armistead died during the cholera epidemic that was raging through the fort. Now, she was the second wife of Major Lewis A. Armistead of the 6th United States Infantry Regiment. As the cholera epidemic broke out, her husband, Major Armistead, feared an outbreak among his troops. So he left the fort. He left her there. But he took his men, and he tried to head southwest to, escape it before it could get the rest of his guys.
Man. Oh.
However, after traveling only 9 miles, the disease took hold among his men, and the unit was forced to stop and return back to fort for medical treatment.
I mean, how do you pick it up along the way? Someone must have had it, right?
Yeah, they already had it.
Okay.
And then it just kind of spread between all of them. Somebody had it in the group. But I think he was trying to get them out of there before anybody could come in contact with it, but it was too late. So when he got, 9 miles out and people were showing signs, he's like, fuck, that didn't work. So they went back. And on the very day that he returned, his wife had died. Or she died that day. A few years later, when the Civil War broke out, Armistead was killed in 1863. Since his death, Armistead has often been seen kneeling at his wife's grave.
Aww.
Upset and weeping, his ghostly presence is wearing a dark blue uniform and clearly wishing to be left alone if approached. Don't bother him.
And I wouldn't. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's out there trying to reach out to his lost loved one. I mean, if you're at a cemetery and you see someone, kneeling at a grave, you leave them be. You don't.
Ghosts or not ghosts, leave them be.
Yeah.
Another story connected to the 1855 cholera epidemic is that of a woman named Susan Fox, who lived in a small frame building across the creek from the post trolley station. She was home alone for several days when her father was away and her fiance was in the nearby town caring for the sick. She contracted this horrible disease herself and died alone. Her fiancé discovered her body after he returned to the fort, and she was buried in her wedding dress in a small grave near the railroad bridge to the trolley station. After her death, the residents of the house that she lived in, her father moved out and everything, these new residents described many strange occurrences.
Yeah.
Her fiancé reported to people that it was a difficult passage for her. And Susan came back to her old home several times demanding to be let in.
Uh-huh. Because she was really a vampire. Not.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Was she in her wedding dress?
Yes.
Yeah, because she was a vampire.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Residents reported hearing strange noises. On another occasion, a maid, this is hilarious, a maid was ironing in front of the front window and looks up and sees Susan on the other side staring at her. And she freaked the fuck out and threw that iron through the window.
This maid is my kind of woman. I would have done the same shit.
But then you're like, shit, now she can get in.
Oh, I fucking broke that window.
No worry. If she's a vampire, she has to ask for permission. So.
Oh, that's what I understand too.
Saving grace right there. Unless she's a zombie. Then that
then
case,
you're screwed.
You're screwed.
You're screwed either way because they could come through glass.
Yeah. It was a dumb zombie and it was thinking about it though.
Yeah, she was like, looks delicious. How do I get to it?
Oh, this hole you just made.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I mean,
it's really sad, guys. I know we're laughing, but
no, it's awful. So what happened to the maid?
I guess she had to probably pay for that window. But I bet she got her iron back. You know?
Oh, that sucks.
Like once the ghost left.
Mm-hmm.
She probably never returned to work.
Nope.
She's doing so many Hail Marys and I cannot. Nope.
She's like, this is my sign. I do not need to be working for those people ever again.
So get this. The post commander, so irritated by the complaints and disturbance, paid for a priest from Junction City, which is nearby, to perform an exorcism.
I love it.
Afterwards, they tore that fucking bitch down, the house that used to be hers, to ensure that Susan would stop haunting the fucking place.
Oh, shit.
But still, she has been seen in many parts of the fort. It ain't stopping her. She's not slowing down, especially around the trolley station.
Wow. All of this shit and then the exorcism and everything. Like, it's taken me right back to that story about the place in Hong Kong where they did the same thing. They pulled that building down after they had that huge, massive exorcism, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what, though? We have all these bricks. Let's just go ahead and rebuild it. And the place is still fucking haunted. It's like, yeah, man. But they up and burnt this shit down. And Susan's just like, okay, fine. You know what? That's cool. You burnt that shit down. I'll go haunt something else.
Yeah, I'll just wander around here instead, I guess. Can you let me into this trolley station, please? It's cold out here, man.
Yeah. I mean, wedding dresses aren't very, like, they're not built to be, like, wool coats or anything. They're not very warming.
Yeah, back in 1855, so it's probably a little thin, yeah, actually.
I have to look into that.
Definitely skimpy on top.
I was thinking poofy sleeves, too, but that was more like 1980s, not so much 1850s.
I think that's a fairly old-fashioned, so it's right to believe that. But I don't know necessarily that poofy, airy sleeves are going to keep you warm. No. You need a fucking sweater.
Yes, you do. You need a fucking sweater. So, wow. Okay, so what happens next?
Well, that's kind of the end of the story, Susan. She still haunts the fort. There you go. But she wasn't the only exorcism on post. Sometime in the 1860s, a woman lived somewhere around quarters 124. She killed herself by drowning herself in the well, like behind her house.
Did she not know how to swim? How do you do that?
I guess you can't get out of there is the thing. There's nothing to grab onto. So you just kind of jump on down and then eventually you get tired of floating.
Oh, man. You think she was hoping to break her neck, like going down and then...
I do not know. And nobody has her name, actually. So this could be a complete legend lore type thing. But it did cause enough problems in that area. Over the years, residents had reported hearing loud noises during the night, such as dragging a wooden box up and down the stairs.
That is not good.
I don't know what that's about, but it bothered people enough that, again, the post commander was like, call the fucking priest again. And they exorcised the quarters.
Wow. I know her name.
What is it?
Jacob fucking Marley. Haven't you seen Christmas Carol? That's what the fuck is going on. And Jacob Marley, you know, he's letting fucking Scrooge know what the hell's going to happen to him. They're just like, no, exorcise this bitch. I can't have this shit coming around here all the time telling me about all the bad things that I've been doing.
I don't know. It was somebody with the willpower of Jacob Marley for sure. It's Jacob Marley's granddaughter. I don't know when Scrooge was, what era that was. So
I think that was the 1800s, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's his mother.
A long line of warning type ghosts out there. The whole Marley family, they just come back to let you know. So this was Jacob Marley's mother.
Yes.
And the boxes that she's dragging up them stairs.
Yes. Even after an exorcism, at first it seemed like, okay, that worked. The noise stopped, but it quickly just returned again.
You can't exorcise a Christmas spirit.
Why would you even want to? Jesus.
Right, exactly.
So these stories are but a fraction of the many haunting tales of Fort Riley. I found a website called ghostofamerica.com. It's like a compilation of a bunch of states and cities and areas, and people just kind of submit their personal experiences at these locations. So there were 18 pages of experiences from Fort Riley.
And Wendy's like, on to page 1.
Everybody wants to be here for the rest of the century, right? No, here are a few, and I'm trying to sum them up for you as well, so it's not their exact words.
Okay.
Hayden wrote in and said that he and his wife often witnessed paranormal activity. His wife woke up with scratches on her body.
Ooh.
They also both heard voices that sounded like each other, and they even would hear sobbing. But when they would go there, of course, it would not be the other person. There would be nobody there.
That's a good one. So wait, they stayed there?
They have to. They're military. This is the house they were given.
Oh, I see.
You imagine the paperwork to switch to another? Hey, man, you got to get me the fuck out of here. Put me in another haunted house. I mean, because the whole fort's haunted. So, what else are you going to get at the other place? Ooh. I don't know. So they stuck it out, and Hayden saw an apparition that looked like his wife.
Wow, that's creepy. Honestly, when you hear other people's voices that sound like your own, I'm gone. We gotta go.
Yeah.
I don't care how much paperwork's involved. I gotta go right now. That doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, it is not. And then when you see apparitions, no.
Yeah.
So one night they woke up and they saw a huge black cloud over their bed. Nope. This is bad. So Hayden ends his submission with saying, yeah, we saw shadows and we heard knocks and bangs as well. The end. So I guess he's alive and his wife's alive. So that's
I hope
good.
So. I like how this guy decided to go all in on the beginning of the story. And then at the end, he's like, and there's this other shit. Who cares?
Right. That's kind of what you open it with.
Yeah.
There was this weird shit going, but then this happened.
And then this. And it usually gradually builds to something more ominous. Not ominous shit, and some knocks.
He just got used to seeing his wife's doppelganger, that he was like, yeah, whatever. So those things happened. But then there was a bunch of shadows and knocks and bangs, too. It kind of was a noisy house.
Wow, that is insane.
Insane. So another submission, this is by a JS. This is like all these other kind of posts. They don't have to put their real names.
Yeah.
She writes in that she lived there as a child with her family in 1971 to 1975. When she was around 6 or 8, she can't quite remember, she woke up and saw 2 human hands sticking out from underneath her bed. Like when you wake up when you're that age, you're already a little like, it's dark, it's scary. You're checking the room, you check under your bed, or not under your bed. That's terrifying. But you do look down there. Is there any kind of hands, creatures, a face, whatever? And she lived it.
And she did. And there they were. The hands were there.
They were there. And she's like, it's usually a negative. So this is alarming. But for some reason, she said she wasn't scared. So somehow she puts her little 6 or 8-year-old hand down there in the middle of these 2 hands. But as they start to come together, she moves her hand out of the way and then it claps. And when it claps, I don't know, it causes her to look up. She looks in the doorway of her room and she sees a female in a white gown. And for a second there, she thinks it's her sister. And then the figure just walks away. So she thought, okay, my little ghost hands down here woke my sister up, and now she's gone back to bed. I'm going to go back to bed too. But the next morning she gets up and asks her sister about it. And her sister's like, what are you talking about? Quit looking at me. How sisters do.
Wow. This is one brave kid. But okay, now that I realize that she had a sister, I guess, even though she didn't explicitly say that, she might have felt like someone was playing a joke on her. So she was like, hi, see you too. And she put her hand down there on the floor, right? Thinking that maybe. Right. So then the hands clap and she looks up and sees, at that moment, when she looks up and she sees somebody else over in the corner, 6 or 8-year-old mine should have been like, okay, well then who the hell is that underneath my bed?
You move pretty quick.
Yeah, right?
You've been eating your Wheaties. That's a little wild. I didn't even hear you. Oh, I must have just missed it.
Yeah.
No, this soon makes her realize that they had a family friend that would come spend the night who often would say to her, "It's creepy how your sister walks around wandering in the middle of the night in her white nightgown." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't think that was my sister, actually, now."
Wow.
So we go on to a couple of more about the housing, because this was two different people that seemed to be living in the same area. So that's why I wanted to include it. So Dana lived in the houses across from the PX, which is like their exchange, their store.
Oh, okay.
And she would, I'm guessing it could go either way, would hear people running up and down the stairs at the exact same time every night.
Wow.
And then sometimes she said she even saw, as she looked at the back sliding glass doors, someone behind her. How fucking creepy is that?
Stop it. That is creepy.
You go, what?
No, what? Earlier, when we were recording another episode, Wendy had like this massive panic attack because she realized that she wasn't recording. But when she had this massive panic attack, and I'm in the middle of telling almost like a horror story to her, she has this like, "Oh my God," I thought she was seeing someone behind me. I almost had an anxiety attack. So this poor girl is seeing someone show up behind her in the glass.
Yeah.
I just felt what she would have felt.
Yes, you did.
Man, I couldn't imagine. I mean, okay, these are the things that we look for as paranormal investigators, but I couldn't imagine not being a paranormal investigator, just doing my day-to-day thing and that happening.
Yeah, they're just living it. And there's nothing they could really do about it either, because they can't just be like, "I'm selling this bitch and moving,"
Yeah, I can't believe there's not a movie about this. Is there a movie out there about this?
Not that I found. I was so psyched to find these personal accounts. And I know that they don't give their full names or anything. I don't have their blood type or can't call them up and confirm it. But these are some wild stories and they seem legit. These people just genuinely lived here and had wacky experiences.
Wow, these are like my favorite. I love these types of personal paranormal experiences because like the way that they come out and they tell you about them, you can see it. They're vivid. They're very vivid encounters.
Yeah.
You know?
So also one more thing for her, she was laying in her bed at night and she felt like really cold all of a sudden, and she felt as if somebody sat on her bed. So she jumps up and runs the fuck out of there. Again, also, how do you not freeze up? How do you get out of the room when that's happening? But she does, and she gets to her mom's room, and while she's in there telling her mom about it, and her mom's like, probably trying to get this kid back into her bed, telling her all kinds of stuff, the TV turns on in her room, and the volume goes all the way up. So I guess mom's like, "Fine, I guess you can get in the bed."
Yeah, stay here with me. I don't know how you don't just freeze up, because I know, sure as shit, I would lock up. Be like, okay, well, I'm dead.
So John also said that he lived in the housing across the PX, and his TV would come on at night, and he had witnessed an old man just watching TV in the living room. And then sometimes this old man would just vanish. Well, not sometimes, all the time. He didn't just live with them. But he would vanish after he would see him. And John's 6-year-old daughter once even told him that someone came into her room and asked, "What's your name?" And she ran the fuck out of there and ran to her dad. I like if this old man's like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah. Right. I like at first how you did go and further explain that, no, he was a ghost. He did disappear every night. But at first, it's like just some old man appears at night watching your TV. He's like, no, John, just go back to bed. I'm a ghost. That's some racket to be in. Just sneaking into people's houses, turning on their TV, reclining in their lazy boy.
You might possibly be able to get away with it for some amount of time, for sure. So with all of these reports from residents and guests visiting the post as well, back in 2018, the fort reached out to a local paranormal group to come and investigate.
Oh, man. Why didn't they reach out to us? Because they knew we'd lock up.
Well, they called someone local, and the group that was local is called Old School Paranormal, which I follow on Instagram, and I think you do too, because I've shared some of their funny memes they're always posting with you and that you have access of seeing.
Yeah.
So I've actually never seen any of their investigations. So it was kind of cool when I discovered that they were the only paranormal group that's ever been to this fucking fort before.
Wow, I didn't know that. I follow tons of paranormal groups, but as soon as you said that name, I was like, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So they did get a chance to investigate the location, actually twice, just because there was too many locations that they wanted them to check out.
Oh, yeah. they had to come twice, I'd be like, yeah, we're going to have to come multiple times. You do understand, right? This is a large location. So
actually, I will be here every year.
Just go ahead and give me a house. I mean, it's probably the best things to do.
Hey, you would get so much evidence that way.
No kidding. And you wouldn't have to constantly pack up all your shit.
Also a plus. So in November of 2018, they spent 10 hours investigating the Custard House and the Triangle House. They were joined by Maggie Gray, who is the president of the Historical and Archaeological Society of Fort Riley. Also, Lauren Childress, who is vice president of the HASFR. I did not look up what that stands for. Sorry.
Hassifer.
Yeah. And then Jasmine, who is a leasing consultant for this company that works on base as well. You know, sometimes there's civilian companies that are also working with these military posts.
Okay.
Co-founder of the group, Old School Paranormal, Steve Stiltz, said that throughout the night in both locations, there were several incidents of disembodied voices, noises, and unexplained reactions on their sensors, their meters that they use. Steve also said that despite most stories of the Custard House being so extremely haunting, the bulk of their activity happened in the Triangle House, which I watched the video of the investigation and I would agree. Now, the Triangle House is just a nickname for one of these old base housings. It's like one of the legit older ones, but there's no reason for it to be called the Triangle House necessarily. Okay. It's just the nickname that it has, it seems like. It also sits empty. Nobody's in it. I don't know if that's because they just can't control the ghosts going on there. And I also don't know if present day they have moved somebody in there. This was back in 2018. It was empty.
Okay.
They got an EVP of a moan in the Triangle House. They also got several disembodied voices that sounded either female or childlike. They found a light on upstairs, like where the bedrooms are at, and they had not been on that floor yet. They assume that a spirit might have turned it on.
Okay.
The women that were with them heard a growl in the basement, and they asked all kinds of questions and asked them to light up their REM pods and whatnots and stuff like that. And honestly, every time they said, "Do you just want us to leave?" that REM pod was like, "Yup, get the fuck out." It didn't really seem to want them there.
Yeah.
So after that happening several times, they decided to move on to their investigation to the Custard House, which they didn't get that much activity. They did get a mapping on their SLS, but it was questionable because the mapping happened on a rocking chair that had a doll in it.
Yeah.
So did it map the doll? Because it was like a childlike size. It was very small. Or was it a child spirit standing by this stuff? They don't know.
Tough. By any chance, did they document other equipment, you know, like a tri-field or an EMF? Did they have anything going at the same time as the SLS?
Yes. Well, yes and no. Not in the same area. I do not believe, and I could be wrong about this, I do not believe, though, that there was like a EMF meter on the rocking chair. Because they were always told that the activity was with the bear and maybe that rocking horse. And then I guess they had heard stories that the bear gets moved up to the fireplace mantle that's in the room. So they had a REM pod up on the fireplace and it did go off throughout the night, but kind of at random times. This time that they were getting the mapping on the SLS, I do not recall them saying anything else was going off at the same time. They even said themselves, well, actually one of the girls brought it to attention. They said, could it be the doll? And that's when they kind of stopped talking about it. Because they were probably like
X and A on the evidence killing A.
I actually don't know how that science works. Maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, they said it themselves. It could be questionable, but that was the only thing that they got was the mapping on this SLS. And they also, this is a cool thing, they got an EVP that when they asked the question, they were still in front of the toys in this children's room, and they asked, "What's your teddy bear's name?" And they got a response that said Milton. Once they discovered it later, because it was an EVP on their recorder, they called back and asked the ladies, has anybody ever reported what the name of the bear was? And they said no. So maybe this is the first recorded evidence of what the bear's name actually is. Very an adult name.
Yeah, Milton.
Milton, the teddy bear. That
cries.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to name a crying teddy bear?
I had a teddy bear named Radar. It was my favorite. It was from MASH. So
Okay.
that's what kind of child I was. I watched a ton of Nick at Night.
Me too. Mr. Ed was my favorite, though.
So the group also went back, like I said, in March of 2019. And this was to investigate the old hospital, which is now an administration building. They also investigated the first territorial building. It was like the first capital building of the state of Kansas as it was kind of becoming a state of Kansas. But I'll let you know right now, they did not get a whole lot of evidence in that building. They did hear, multiple people said this. One investigator was like, did you hear that? And one of the girls were like, yeah, I heard that. And it sounded like a dragging sound on the wood floors that are in the building. But that was really the only thing that happened there. And they went there at the end of their night. They spent most of their time in the building that is called either Building 500 or the Garrison Command. This was, again, the old hospital.
Oh.
During that Spanish flu pandemic, they were using this building as the hospital, and in the basement was the morgue. And they would lay bodies out to keep them cool down there until they could bury them or autopsy them and then bury them. So this is where they heard all kinds of sounds throughout the night. Lights would come on and off by themselves in offices that were locked. Like, they couldn't get into these rooms. They later found out that a lot of the lights were set on sensors. Like, you know how you just walk into a room and the light turns on for you?
Yeah, but in a locked office, like, what's setting off the sensor?
Exactly. And it was real creepy light, too. It wouldn't just pop on. It, like, slowly came on and then went out.
Wait, is that like one of the aisles at Lowe's where you get like the creepy haunted light?
Slowly comes on as it goes down as you move. Yeah. It was creepy like that. And they were nowhere near these rooms when these lights would come on either. It was like at the end of the hall. They're like, what the fuck was that? You know? They also saw shadows, but of course this wasn't caught on their camera. It was just something they were kind of experiencing. Looking down the hallway, what was that? I thought I just saw that, blah, blah, blah. Multiple people in their group, as well as the women that were accompanying them, saw that.
You know, just as a side note, the company that I used to work for, they had sensors, lights in their office. Like all of the row of offices all had those motion sensor lights in them. And I would just be sitting at my desk doing my job and you would just see the light go off in these offices. And I'm like, how is it possible that they're sitting that fucking still that the light just went off? They're fucking sleeping. I mean, because I'm at my desk and I'm typing, but I don't know. I just feel I'm either more animated. You have to answer the phone. You have to raise your hands up when there's a fucking email that comes across. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are these people sleeping? How do their lights just go off and they would stay off?
Look, I've been in a room that has motion sensor lights that has gone off on me while I'm in there. It's funny that you're like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And I'm like, you become a statue. It's really easy if you're like reading something online, or I don't know, you're like a sloth, you're making the smallest movements playing solitaire on your phone. I don't know, but it's happened to me. So I sympathize with these people, but I will tell you they are not doing work.
Yeah, I know. Because they don't like just start clapping or something to make movement. Like the light stays off. And I'm like, come on.
Oh, they're asleep then. Yeah. Because when it turns off on me, I'm like waving my arms around like, don't tell anybody. I was in here doing nothing. I was
telling on me.
Reading about this haunted location. So they also got some spirit box responses, but they were random in my opinion. And they also agreed that they weren't that compelling. They did get the names Diane and Scott. I think there was a Scott in their group though. I'm just making that up. I'm not really sure. But the coolest thing that happened to them, I'm going to tell you in just a second. First, I want to share with you a photo. They did not get this photo. This was something that they were shown.
Okay.
Before coming into the investigation, that somebody had caught this photo down in the basement area of this building. Ooh. And they believe this to be a soldier in an older era, possibly when they had that cholera or Spanish flu epidemic. Now, I sent you just the plain photo.
All right.
And I can send you ones with circles. my favorites.
I might need it because I think I'm looking straight in the middle here.
Right. So also when I was shown it, obviously, I was like, can we get a circle around it? I don't know where you want my eyes to be. It is not clear to me, but I can see, yes, a hat.
Yes, I see the hat.
And a round head. And then it's just kind of black, but you would assume a suit, whatnot. And that's it.
Sure.
It's a peg with a hat on.
Yeah, it's a peg with a hat on. That's a cute hat. I mean...
But they say, oh, this was a morgue attendee because this is in the area where they would have kept the bodies.
Okay, yeah.
This could be nothing. But it doesn't negate the fact that the place is haunted because, like I said, they had disembodied voices, they had lights cutting on, and then here is the truly epic moment for the night. As the group is down in the basement, they hear a door slam. Ugh. So they look down the hallway and they go, was that door? So they kind of back up from it. And they said, if you just move that door, can you do it again? And sure as shit, it opens up and then it shuts.
Wow.
Girls are wigging out. Dudes are wigging out. Everybody is like, mind blown. We can sympathize with that. Doors opening and shutting on their own shouldn't happen.
No, and on command?
Yes. So a step above the experience we had in Villisca with our infamous door. Yeah. These motherfuckers get to ask for this door to be open and shut, and it doesn't.
Why didn't we do that? Because we
were
froze?
Scared.
When we froze and thought that our lives were about to end? Wendy, why didn't we say, thanks, now shut that door?
No, we left and locked the door and said, you never gonna open this door again, motherfucker. I put the hook on.
Try and open that bitch now. See?
If it had opened after I put the lock on, we would have left.
I would have just started crying right there in the Kia.
It was a beautiful Kia, though. So obviously they were probably there for quite some time, but it's at least like 10 minutes to 15 minutes of the video, it seems like, of this hour-long investigation that they posted on YouTube, that they are asking this door, hey, could you do that again? And they say things like, Kevin just showed up here. He hasn't seen it. Could you open that door again? And it'll slowly open and then it'll shut a little bit. And every time this happened, some of the girls were like, I feel like I'm seeing something behind the door, like a light. And then eventually one of the dudes say the same thing. Yeah, it looks like something's behind the door. And like I said, for like 15 minutes, they get this door to kind of open and shut. And sometimes it slams really loud where it's very obvious on the camera. And other times you're kind of like, did it move? I don't. But yes, it happens enough for you to be like, this is a legit thing.
Wow. This whole thing started with them hearing a door slamming, and then it just seemed like it was kind of creaking open and closed. But then you just said it. It slams at one point in front of them, and they're filming it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they caught it on camera.
Is this the kind of doorknob that you have to, like, physically twist? Is it like a circle, or is it like a latch, like you could push down on it? Did you see?
That is an excellent question. I did not see. I don't know why I envisioned it in my head as like a freezer door where it was a big old handle, you know?
Yeah.
They never said that they saw a doorknob turn.
Yeah.
But I think it was like an elongated handle, not a round one.
Okay. I gotta see it. It's really interesting. They never approached the door.
They tried to creep closer to it, again, asking it to do its thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think every time it did, they jump a little bit back.
Yeah.
And then they'd creep a little bit more forward. And I think they all kind of mutually decided, we're not going to bombard this. We're just going to watch and document this. We're all right here, so it's not us doing it. Nobody else is in this building. So we're just going to kind of experience it.
Yeah.
I guess the door stopped just like as it does. Activity just kind of stops all of a sudden. The door stopped responding, opening and shutting, and then that's when they broke out the spirit box and tried that. And that's where they got the names like Diane and Scott while they were down there. But not enough information from the spirit box to really tell you like why was the door opening or who it really was.
Yeah, because the dude had already used up all of his energy opening and shutting that door like a parlor trick. He's like, shit, I can't talk to you now. Dunsies.
They also say sometimes didn't necessarily respond to their request. So whether it was doing it on command or if it just happened to be doing it so often that when they asked, it did it, you know, it could have been a residual thing. Somebody coming in and out of that door at that time.
Yeah.
And they just happened to be asking the question at the time. because it wasn't every single time they asked that it responded.
Wow, what if it was like just tons of spirits, like just going through that door, and every time they saw it move, that's all it was, is just another spirit actually passing through.
Yeah, it was just that time of night. Everybody's coming in and they're performing their activity, whatever they're doing, and they were just catching it. But they're talking to it constantly, so they think it's responding to them.
Yeah, they need to go back. They need to do more investigations, and they need to link it to us so that we can talk about it.
And they could invite us
Call
along
us
if they'd like. You want a couple of extra people there to help you with all that space?
We'll also watch somewhat from afar.
So that was kind of the grand finale. They did investigate more after that. Like I said, they even eventually went to that territorial building, but they went back up on the first floor and they saw another light appear in an office that was locked. They even went to like the end of the hall to go investigate this light appearing. And one of the females that were with them heard a noise, like a door opening or trying to open. And she said that she visually watched a door handle kind of turn. And this was up on like the first floor. So this door was an exterior door. So the noise, she wondered if that was from like wind blowing on the door. But she's like, I could have swore I saw the doorknob move. And that was like a round doorknob.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's why I try so hard to just go with my first instinct on something like that. Because if you try to reason it out, you can actually talk yourself out of it. Like anybody in any situation, you can try to just go with the logical approach and be like, yeah, it had to be the wind. Right? I just try to go with my gut. She thought she saw the doorknob turning.
And that's what she said. She's like, but that's an exterior door, so could it be the wind? But I swear I thought I saw a doorknob move. And it wasn't documented on camera, just her reaction to it. But it seemed genuine. It really did. So that was kind of the end of the night for them. And I definitely recommend that you watch their YouTube videos. They are Old School Paranormal. So you could just find them under that name. And then if you go to their playlist, you'll see Fort Riley investigations. There should be a couple of them. Don't go to the ones that say reveal. I didn't watch those. I don't know what that means. Now, I do have to point this out. And this is kind of like a not good topic. Fort Riley is a large military post, and it's been around for lots of years, housing many soldiers, right? And just people, period. Yes, there have been murders. There's been suicides. There's been violent crimes that have taken place on post and accusations of abuse. I read all of that. I saw it. I did not want to include that into my stories. It feels just a little too new and fresh to really bring up. And, I don't want to throw people's names out there. Their families are still here. This is like a thing that just happened to them. But you should know that in like 2017, this is just an example, within just like 4 months, 8 soldiers from Fort Riley died, each under different circumstances. I don't know. I did not Google it. Is Fort Riley cursed in any which way? Or is it just the world that we live in and the things that these people have to deal with? So I chose not to dig into that. I just wanted to focus on the actual paranormal activity that has been documented there and people's popular opinion that it stems from these old epidemics and not the more current events. Though some people living there, I watched some videos of military wives that said, I heard this and that, and it's from this, and it was more current situations. And I just didn't really want to touch on that because it's a touchy situation that I don't want to play therapist and act like I know anything about.
Yeah. That's out of our league.
Yes. So just so you know, this fort has experienced many tragedies over the years, and I'm sure still struggles even today.
Wow.
So, if you have any lighthearted, fun ghost stories that you would like to share with us from Fort Riley, then you could write to us at creaturesthethenightparanormal@gmail.com. Or you can comment on or DM us on any of our social media, which is COTN_paranormal on Instagram and COTN Paranormal on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget, we would appreciate your support for the show. So you can do that by simply rating and reviewing our show on things like iTunes or wherever you listen to our podcast. You could also visit our spiritual shop, which is the Spirit Emporium on Etsy, and our website, creaturesofthenight.paranormal.com. So that's all that I got for you.
Well, that was impressive. Thank you for taking me to Kansas. That's incredible. And for all of the forts that we dig into and, love just because they're historic, they're old, they're clearly haunted because they're forts. This one is still an active fort with so much shit going on. It's really a very mind-blowing kind of a location. I mean, it seems like there's range of types of hauntings that you can find there. Everything from, where I struggle with this all the time. What is it called? You've got the ones
Residual.
That are, thank you.
Yeah. She only keeps me around so I can remind her of that word.
Remember that word. Everything from residual hauntings to
intelligent
hauntings. It seems like it anyways. This would be one for more investigators to go and check out, I guess. But since it's an active base, I guess you have to be invited. You can't just be like, hey, so how much for the night? I need to lock down one of these places. It doesn't really seem like, or you got to phone a friend. You got to know somebody that lives there currently that'll let you stay and investigate their place. And a lot of people, they don't want you stirring that shit up. Yeah, they might have seen some things or heard some things, but they want to leave it as that. They don't want you stirring the pot necessarily,
I will tell you this, with the stuff that I read that has happened more recently, yeah, you want to leave that stuff alone.
Oh, wow.
It's something that could be a little scary. Like I said, they're stuck living there.
Yeah.
They can't just ask for a transfer. Or they don't really get a choice. So, yeah, I could see them not wanting to stir it up because they're kind of stuck there and they're just trying to live their lives. These are not people that necessarily asked for this stuff. It's just a part of where they live.
Yeah.
It's awesome that Old School Paranormal is, so credible that they got asked to go there. That's pretty cool.
That's badass. Yeah, I love that. Good for them, because it sounds like they had a really interesting couple of nights there.
And I love that in their video, which was also, I should tell you, very professionally done, the way they put everything together. I thought to myself, gosh, you don't have to have cable. You just have to have internet, and you could find a lot of great paranormal shows on YouTube. I mean, Amy's Crypt is just all on YouTube.
Yeah.
And BuzzFeed Unsolved, mostly on YouTube. I mean,
right.
You don't need cable to get these kind of shows. And they put a quality show together. It's very Ghost Hunter-like. Old school Ghost Hunter.
It's just like the haunted side. They do the same thing. There are a lot of those different shows out there, just like you said on YouTube. Who needs cable?
Very professionally done. It was good. But I liked that in their video, they said this was something that most paranormal investigators never get to experience. And it was the door. And I was like, yes, it is. I felt so validated all of a sudden. I was like, yes, that is a crazy experience.
Yeah, you don't know what's on the other side of that door.
No. And so I think that they also were creeping closer to try to see behind it. They're like, we are alone in this building, right?
God, it's scary, and that's the funny thing, because you go in as a paranormal investigator. So, yeah, you're supposed to investigate that shit that's creepy as fuck.
Get closer to that door moving all by itself. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's when logic kicks in and you're like, no, there shouldn't be anybody here. I need to leave. I also don't need to be here.
Or at least watch it from down the hallway at a safe distance.
On the camera.
Right. I'm sure there's lots of active bases that still have activity, but...
Yeah, I mean, well, we grew up around one in Millington. It was very active. I don't remember anybody saying anything cool about that place except for the Navy Exchange. That was it. Shit was cheap there. Well, yeah, I want to go, but nobody ever said anything about the paranormal.
No. And they really seem to embrace it too, which was really cool. So yeah, that's why I wanted to cover it. I hope you liked it.
I loved it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I can't wait to Google that one.
All right. So I guess that's it.
All right. Well then, peace.
Bye.
Bye.